I wasn't prepared for my stepmom's actions while I was in the bathroom. In a twist of fate I never saw coming, I found myself caught off guard within the familiar walls of my own home, and the unexpected culprit was none other than my stepmother, Claire, a vibrant spirit at 61. I had always anticipated that returning to live with my dad and his new wife would require some adjustment, but nothing could have braced me for the unexpected turn of events that emerged on that serene Tuesday morning. I had just come back to town after completing my studies, eager to save some money before creating a place for myself. While I was off pursuing my studies, my father, Robert, found love again and remarried. Claire was a refreshing presence, a lively and spirited woman whose laughter had the power to brighten even the gloomiest of days. She broke apart every stereotype I had about stepmothers, and honestly, we connected wonderfully, often even more so than I did with my dad. That morning, I found myself in the bathroom, preparing for a job interview that held immense significance for me. The shower sang a soft tune, steam swirling around and cloaking the mirror as I grappled with my anxiety. Opportunities like this don't come around often, you know. While I ran through my responses in my mind, a soft knock resonated at the door. "Hey, Ethan," came Claire's voice, soft yet clear through the fog. "Is anyone home?" "Absolutely, Claire, I'm just preparing for my interview." I returned the call, trying to keep it light and easygoing. A fleeting silence lingered before she uttered another word. "I apologize for the interruption, but I must quickly retrieve something from the bathroom. Would you be so kind?" "Absolutely no issue whatsoever. Step right inside," I answered, clearing the fog from the glass with a quick motion of my hand. The door creaked open just a bit, and Claire glided in, clad in a soft blue robe, her silver hair elegantly gathered into a neat bun. I thought she would grab what she needed and slip away swiftly, but as she reached into the cabinet, I couldn't help but notice that her robe hung loosely, not quite secured as it ought to be. It opened slightly, revealing a brief view of her exposed shoulder and collarbone. Heat rushed to my cheeks, and I averted my gaze in a hurry. "Is everything all right?" I inquired, fighting to maintain my composure. She glanced my way, her eyes sparkling with a touch of mischief. "Oh, I'm perfectly all right, just required a bit of aspirin," she remarked, lifting the small bottle with a hint of nonchalance. "Are you feeling anxious about your upcoming interview?" A small admission escaped my lips as I clung to the distraction, seeking to regain my composure. She offered me a gentle, comforting smile. "You'll shine, Ethan. Simply embrace who you are. They will come to recognize your true brilliance." Her words detonated, as they always did. Claire possessed an enchanting ability to inspire a sense of invincibility in everyone around her. I nodded, grateful for the encouragement, but as she began to walk away, the belt of her robe came undone, and in a heartbeat, the fabric fell wide open. Time appeared to stand still. My gaze was locked, disbelief washing over me. There stood Claire, my stepmother, completely vulnerable in front of me. With a sharp intake of breath, she hurriedly pulled the robe closed, her face aflame with embarrassment. "Oh my goodness, Ethan." Apologies escaped her lips, a flustered whisper as she struggled with the tie, her hands trembling in a flurry of anxiety. "I never intended for that to happen, I was unaware." I found myself equally bewildered, my thoughts whirling in a dizzying dance. "It's fine," I said impulsively, turning away to afford her a moment of solitude. "It happened by chance." Indeed. "Just an accident," she repeated, her voice laced with a deep sense of shame. "Promise me you won't say anything to your dad, all right?" "He would be utterly devastated." "Certainly," I agreed, my mind still swirling with the implications. "It's a secret just between us." In an instant, she burst from the bathroom, and I was left in the silence, my mind racing with a storm of thoughts. I pressed my back to the cool surface of the sink, my heart racing wildly within my chest. It was beyond my wildest imagination. My 62-year-old stepmother stood before me, exposed in a manner I had never envisioned. Throughout the remainder of the day, I felt utterly unproductive. The interview, my aspirations ahead, none of it lingered. My mind was consumed by thoughts of Claire, the way her robe had fallen away, and the expression on her face when the truth dawned on her. It was more than mere shock or shame. Something lingered in the air, an elusive presence that slipped through my fingers, just beyond my grasp. That evening, I carefully avoided her, sidestepping any opportunity for discomfort. Yet, each time I stole a glance at her, warmth flooded my cheeks. She carried on as if all was well, yet an undercurrent of unease hung in the atmosphere, a fresh chord that had not existed prior. I nestled into bed early, yearning for sleep to erase the day's burdens. As I lay there gazing at the ceiling, that moment looped endlessly in my thoughts. I understood that lingering on it was not the way to go. She was my stepmom, for crying out loud, yet I couldn't get rid of the feeling. Something intriguing lingered about Claire. A mysterious force I couldn't quite articulate, beckoning me closer. The following morning, a note awaited me on the kitchen table, written in Claire's tidy script. My heart soared into my throat as I absorbed those words. What was it that she wished to talk about? Did she let it slip to Dad? Was she trying to mend the situation? Or was there something deeper simmering just out of sight? I clenched the note tightly in my hand, my anxiety crackling with intensity. With Dad away on a business trip, it was just the two of us left in the house. The entire day stretched before me, a canvas on which I could prepare for whatever she might unveil. I chose to venture outside for a moment, yearning for the crispness of fresh air to refresh my thoughts. As I strolled through the local park, the happenings of the previous morning replayed in my thoughts like a never-ending reel. The image of Claire lingered in my mind, her eyes wide with surprise, a blush creeping across her cheeks, and the way she had dashed out of the room. As I returned, the sun hung low on the horizon, casting a warm glow. Through the kitchen window, I caught a glimpse of Claire, busy at work, preparing dinner with a sense of purpose. With a steadying breath, I crossed the threshold. The aroma of roasted chicken filled the air, and a table for two awaited its guests. "Hey, Ethan," she said, her smile revealing a hint of unease. "I prepared your favorite dish. Prepare your appetite." "Thank you, Claire," I said, easing myself into a chair. The atmosphere crackled with tension as we dined, skirting around trivial conversations, carefully sidestepping the undeniable presence that hung in the air. At last, with the plate cleared, she placed her fork aside and turned her gaze toward me. "Ethan, regarding yesterday," she started, her tone gentle and uncertain. "Indeed, I've been pondering it as well," I admitted, locking eyes with her. With a soft sigh, she let her fingers glide through her silver hair. "I'm not quite sure how to express this, but I believe it's important for us to be truthful with one another. What transpired in the bathroom was an accident, undeniably, yet it awakened emotions I never anticipated, emotions I believed I had outgrown." My mind was a whirlwind of disbelief. I had steeled myself for her to dismiss it, to express a desire to move on, but this was beyond my anticipation. "Claire, what do you mean?" I inquired, my voice scarcely rising above a whisper. She inhaled slowly, her gaze firmly meeting mine. "I've sensed a connection between us for some time now. I understand it's not right, and I never intended for things to unfold this way, but yesterday left me pondering if perhaps you sense it as well." My thoughts swirled in a chaotic dance, a whirlwind of confusion, excitement, and guilt colliding in a tumultuous embrace. I found it impossible to refute. Claire possessed a beauty that was striking, an intellect that was keen, and a kindness that radiated warmth. Our connection was effortless, a spark that lingered in the air, impossible to overlook. Yet, she held the title of my stepmother, the wife of my father. This felt entirely off, didn't it? I am at a loss for words. At last, I succeeded. "You are my stepmother. And father." "I understand, Ethan," she cut in, extending her hand to gently grasp mine. "I cherish your father, yet what I feel for you is something entirely unique. It's as if we understand one another in a manner that no one else can." Her touch sparked a surge within me, vibrant and inescapable. I understood I ought to step back, label it as madness, argue that it was impossible, yet I found myself unable to do so. Instead, I found myself drawn in, my heart racing with anticipation. "Claire," I began. But before I could complete my thought, she stepped closer, her lips grazing mine, gentle and hesitant at first, as if she were gauging the moment. Then, as if a dam had broken, all the tension, all the yearning we had been suppressing surged forth. I pressed my lips against hers, my fingers gliding along her arms, drawing her closer to me. In that brief instant, all else faded away. Neither my father nor the repercussions. Silence. An empty canvas, waiting for the brush of imagination to paint its tale. It was only Claire and I, caught in a tide we were powerless to resist. Yet, reality crashed in once more. I pulled away, gasping for air, my voice quivering. "Claire, this isn't something we can pursue. What about father? What about us?" Her gaze met mine, filled with a swirling blend of longing and remorse. "I'm not sure, Ethan. I simply cannot feign indifference to these emotions I carry." "Indeed, you have a point. We ought to reflect on the implications of this. What we shall embark upon." I nodded, feeling the burden settle deep within me. We had crossed a threshold. And it was irreversible. The days that came after melded into one another. Claire and I made an effort to maintain a facade of normalcy in our interactions. Yet that subtle tension lingered just beneath the surface. Dad returned from his trip, completely oblivious to the tempest gathering within our household. I immersed myself in the search for work, yet my mind continually drifted back to Claire, to that kiss, to the way her gaze had sought out mine. One evening, roughly a week after that moment, I discovered her on the porch, lost in thought as she watched the sunset unfold. We sat together in quietude, observing the sky transform into a canvas of pink and orange hues. After a long pause, she finally spoke, her voice cutting through the silence. "I've been reflecting on us. A tale of events that unfolded. I confessed as well. It lingers in my mind, refusing to fade away." She faced me, her demeanor grave. "It seems we must come to a conclusion, Ethan. We can either put a stop to this right now, before it deepens, or we can unravel what it truly means. What we desire." I took a deep breath, my thoughts swirling in a chaotic dance. She was indeed correct. We could no longer float aimlessly in this fog, feigning that all was well when the reality was far from it. "What is it that you desire, Claire?" I inquired, my voice scarcely above a whisper. Her gaze deepened, a mixture of melancholy and longing shimmering within. "I'm not sure, Ethan. I desire you. However, I wish to avoid causing any pain to your father. I wish to preserve what we have. I have no desire to cause him any pain, either." I spoke, my heart heavy with sorrow. "Yet, I cannot dismiss the emotions I have for you." As she extended her hand, her fingers intertwined with mine, a sense of stability washed over me. "Perhaps we ought to pause for a moment, to reflect on our emotions, to understand our true feelings free from the weight of pressure and guilt." I nodded, giving her hand a gentle squeeze. Indeed, that could be a promising notion. As the sun sank beneath the horizon, we lingered there, fingers intertwined, aware that whatever lay ahead, our lives had changed irrevocably. We were far from having all the answers, that much was clear. Yet, we were not alone. In that fleeting instant, it sufficed. The days ahead loomed with an air of unpredictability, and I found myself lost in contemplation. What had she meant by, "We need to talk," when I discovered her note? Had she been grappling with this the entire time? Did she wish to set things right? Or was there a hidden truth she had been concealing all along? Regardless of the circumstances, an unsettling sense lingered that my existence was on the brink of becoming significantly more intricate. Would you turn your back and leave? Or would you dare to pursue your heart's desire, regardless of what may come? Be sure to subscribe for more captivating tales like this one.